My best friend's Moem adopted me as her daughter. I never imagined a simple visit could flip my world upside down. But today, it already had. My name is Alex, and my life, well, it's complicated. To everyone else, I'm just another guy. A graphic designer, a friend, a boyfriend. Ordinary. But behind closed doors, I'm someone else entirely. I've always been drawn to the feminine. Dresses, heels, makeup, the small details that transform more than just appearances. For me, it's not a hobby. It's part of who I am. But it's a secret. One I guard fiercely. Because the world isn't kind to secrets like mine. Today, though, the secret might not stay hidden. The message from Ryan popped up on my phone. Mom's asking about you. Come over later? Just a few words, but they sent a shiver down my spine. Evelyn, Ryan's mom, elegant, warm, with a presence that filled every room. She had always been perceptive. Too perceptive, maybe. Every time I visited her, I felt the weight of her gaze, subtle but piercing. She noticed the little things, the quirks, the tension I tried so hard to hide. I froze for a moment. Could I go? Could I show her the real me? Not Alex, not the normal guy she expects. But the Alex I hide in my apartment, in the mirror, when no one else is watching. I knew the answer before I even made a decision. Yes. I had to. I locked my apartment door behind me, heart thundering. Each step down the hallway was a battle between fear and thrill. Fear of discovery. Thrill of exposure. My reflection in the elevator's polished steel mocked me, shoulder-length hair, soft curves just barely hidden beneath my clothes. The lipstick I applied yesterday lingered faintly on my lips. I was ready. But was the world ready for me? By the time I reached Evelyn's house, my pulse had turned into a drumbeat I could feel in my bones. Ryan greeted me at the door with his usual grin, oblivious. Hey, Alex. Mom's inside, he said. Too casual. Too easy. Evelyn appeared then, like always, radiant, composed, flawless. Her eyes swept over me, just a glance, but I felt it like a spotlight. Curious? Approving? Amused? I couldn't tell. And that uncertainty, it was delicious. Alex, she said, her voice calm but knowing, I've been expecting you. She stepped aside, letting me in. Every movement she made was deliberate, commanding. Yet warm. Inviting. Dangerous. I wanted to run. I wanted to freeze. But I also wanted everything she represented. Acceptance, approval, understanding. The impossible. I made my way into the living room, heels clicking softly against the hardwood. Each step reminded me of the secret I carried, the double life I had led for years. The thrill of crossdressing had always been mine alone, private, sacred. Now, someone else would witness it. And I couldn't predict what that would mean. The house smelled faintly of coffee and roses, a familiar comfort that contrasted sharply with the storm inside me. Evelyn watched as I settled on the couch, her gaze unrelenting. I felt exposed. Vulnerable. But alive. Every fiber of my being screamed for secrecy, yet another part of me ached to be seen. I imagined the conversation that might unfold. She could never understand, could she? Or maybe she already did. Maybe the flicker of curiosity in her eyes, the ever so slight tilt of her head, was more than just observation. Maybe she sensed what I had always hidden. Ryan's laughter echoed from the kitchen, oblivious to the tension. But Evelyn, she knew. And in that knowing, there was power. Authority. A strange, magnetic pull I couldn't resist. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my racing heart. Today, boundaries were going to blur. Lines I had carefully drawn in my life, between Alex and the Alex no one else could see, were about to vanish. And whether I was ready or not, I had crossed the threshold. Because sometimes, it only takes a single visit, a single glance, to turn a life inside out. And today, Evelyn's warm, knowing eyes promised exactly that. I could feel my pulse in my throat, in my wrists, in my stomach. Evelyn's house was quiet except for the faint hum of the air conditioner and Ryan moving around in the kitchen. Every step I took was measured, careful, deliberate, as if the walls themselves could betray me. I'd dressed to perfection, a soft lavender dress that clung just enough to hint at curves, my hair falling naturally over my shoulders, subtle makeup enhancing my features without screaming for attention. But still, the fear lingered, nagging at me like a persistent shadow. I sank into the living room couch, adjusting the hem of my dress and tugging at the edges of my stockings. It was such a small, mundane motion, but in the tension-charged atmosphere of Evelyn's home, it felt loaded with significance. Every twitch of her eyebrow, every shift of her posture, every tiny glance could expose me. And yet, I couldn't stop. There was a thrill in knowing that someone else might see me for who I truly was. For years, I had hidden this part of myself in the privacy of my apartment. My mirrors had been my only audience, my makeup brushes my instruments of creation. But now, I wasn't alone. Evelyn's presence added a dimension I had never experienced before, a combination of danger, intimacy, and raw excitement. I glanced toward her, pretending to be casual as I adjusted my hair. She was sitting in her armchair, book in hand, yet her gaze kept flicking toward me. Every time it did, I felt a shiver run down my spine. Was it curiosity? Suspicion? Admiration? Or something else entirely, something I couldn't name? My mind raced with possibilities. Could she accept me, truly accept me, as I was? Or would this revelation shatter everything, the friendship, the trust, the delicate balance I had maintained for so long? The thought alone made my heart pound harder. I tried to steady myself, taking a slow breath. One foot in front of the other. One motion at a time. The first part of any transformation, I had learned, was preparation. And Evelyn's house demanded perfection. I excused myself to the bathroom, the soft click of my heels on the polished floor echoing like a warning. Inside, I stared at the reflection that had become both a comfort and a torment, Alex, the normal guy. And Alex, the version of me I had always longed to be, delicate and feminine and alive. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting my fingers trace the smooth line of my jaw. Then I opened the cabinet and pulled out the items I always kept hidden here. Somehow, I had prepared for this moment, just in case. Foundation, brushes, eyeshadow palette, mascara, eyeliner, lipstick, and the small, shimmering compact that always made me feel like a new person. I worked quickly but carefully. First, the foundation, blending it into my skin until it looked like it had always been there. I smoothed it over the slight stubble that betrayed my masculinity, letting the cool cream settle into my pores. Then the eyeshadow first, soft lavender to match my dress, then a delicate sweep of eyeliner to elongate and lift my gaze. Mascara followed, dark and thick, emphasizing my lashes until my eyes seemed to hold a new depth. Lipstick came last, a soft rose, something that whispered femininity rather than shouting it. I pursed my lips, testing the color, feeling a thrill run through me. The reflection staring back was no longer just Alex. She was here too, quiet and knowing and beautiful. My pulse quickened, and I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. The dress itself was next. I smoothed it over my shoulders, tugging it into place. The fabric hugged curves that only I knew existed, accentuating the transformation in ways I had always imagined but never dared to show anyone. Finally, the heels. I slid them on carefully, feeling my posture shift, my legs elongate, and a subtle surge of confidence flood my chest. Standing in front of the mirror, I allowed myself a small, private smile. I looked like a woman now. Every motion, every gesture had changed subtly, like I had stepped into another skin. But the thrill of it was tempered by fear. Evelyn was out there. She could see me at any moment. One careless step, one misplaced word, and everything would be exposed. I left the bathroom and returned to the living room, moving slowly, deliberately. Evelyn looked up from her book, her eyes catching mine, and something shifted in the room. There was curiosity there, certainly. But also something warmer, something more personal, as if she recognized something in me that I had never dared to reveal to anyone. I sat down, crossing my legs carefully, feeling the soft fabric of my dress against my thighs. My mind raced. What would happen if she realized the truth? Would she laugh? Recoil? Accept me? The uncertainty was almost unbearable, and yet, intoxicating. Every sound in the house felt amplified, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the wall clock, even Ryan's laughter from the kitchen. Each one reminded me of my precarious position. I was exposed in a way I had never been before, and the thrill mingled with a fear so raw it made my stomach twist. I tried to distract myself, making small talk with Evelyn, keeping my voice steady even as my heart raced. She asked about work, about Ryan, about little mundane things, but I could feel her observing me. Every question, every pause, every subtle tilt of her head felt like a probe, gently testing the boundaries of who I was. I could feel myself trembling slightly, whether from fear or excitement I couldn't tell. And then, a moment of danger, Ryan's shadow passed behind the living room doorway, and I caught a glimpse of his face. He hadn't noticed yet, but if he had, the entire illusion, the careful balance of secrecy and exposure, would shatter instantly. I took a deep breath, focusing on the present. I had to keep calm, had to maintain the persona I had spent so long perfecting. One slip, one small mistake, and all my carefully guarded secrets would spill into the open. And yet, there was a small, daring part of me that wanted to risk it. To see how far I could go. How much Evelyn would accept. How she would react to the real me. The Alex who had hidden in shadows for so long. Every subtle glance, every quiet moment in that living room, was a test. And I was eager to see where it would lead. The hours passed in a strange rhythm, slow yet tense. Every word Evelyn spoke seemed layered, every smile carried curiosity, every gesture held subtle judgment. I sat across from her, my hands folded neatly in my lap, pretending calm while my chest raced like a drum. My mind replayed every step I had taken, the careful makeup, the dress, the heels, and wondered how much of it she could see through. Could she guess the truth of me, the secret I had kept for years? At one point, she stood and walked past me toward the kitchen, her presence brushing the air in a way that made my skin tingle. I could feel the eyes of someone who notices everything, who understands even without words. It was intoxicating, terrifying, and impossible to ignore. I excused myself to the guest bathroom again, needing a moment to breathe. The reflection staring back was no longer just Alex. It was the person I had always longed to be, polished and feminine, yet vulnerable and raw under the surface. I touched my face lightly, feeling the contours of my cheeks, the softness of the lips I had painted so carefully. I had never dared to let anyone see this side of me fully. And yet, Evelyn had. When I returned, she was seated calmly, a small smile on her lips. "You look different today," she said casually, but the subtle emphasis made my stomach flip. Different. Not bad, not unusual, different. It was a word loaded with meaning. She had seen me, really seen me, in a way no one else had. A strange warmth spread inside me, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Part of me wanted to flee, to retreat into the safety of my apartment and my mirrors. But another part, a daring, reckless part, wanted to linger, to see how far I could go. How much she would accept. How much I could reveal without losing control. Ryan entered then, cheerful and oblivious, chatting about plans for the weekend. His presence reminded me of the delicate balance I had to maintain. One slip, one careless glance, one misunderstood word, and my secret would shatter. The tension was unbearable, and yet, thrilling. As the afternoon faded into evening, the house took on a softer, quieter mood. Shadows stretched across the living room floor, and the golden light from the setting sun illuminated the space in a way that felt almost cinematic. Every sound, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the wall clock, the rustle of pages from Evelyn's book, was amplified in my heightened state of awareness. I felt like I was performing on a stage, one where the audience was Evelyn, and the script was written by my own secret desires. Every movement, every glance, every subtle shift of posture was deliberate. I was walking the line between discovery and concealment, between fear and exhilaration. And then, as if sensing my inner turmoil, Evelyn stood and approached me. Her gaze was calm but piercing, and she placed a hand lightly on my shoulder. The touch was gentle, maternal, yet electric in its intensity. My heart leapt into my throat. Could she sense the truth? Could she feel the vulnerability I tried so hard to hide? "You've grown," she said softly. Her tone carried layers of meaning I couldn't parse. Approval? Curiosity? Something deeper, something unspoken? I didn't know, and the uncertainty made me tremble slightly. I nodded, forcing a smile, keeping my composure even as my mind raced. My secret was out, at least in part. She had seen me for who I truly was, even if only subtly. The thrill of being witnessed, combined with the terror of potential exposure, was intoxicating. As the evening settled, I realized that the house, the moment, the very air around me, had changed. I was no longer just Alex. I was the version of myself I had hidden for so long, the feminine, daring, vulnerable, and alive side that had never been allowed to breathe in public. And Evelyn, she had become a silent witness to it all. I sat back, feeling the weight of the day pressing down on me, but also a strange exhilaration. The balance of secrecy, thrill, and risk had never felt so potent. And somewhere deep inside, I knew that nothing in my life would ever be the same again. Because tonight, boundaries had shifted. Lines I had drawn to protect my secret had blurred. And whether I was ready or not, my world was about to change forever. The golden evening light had faded into a soft, dim glow, and Evelyn's living room felt different now, smaller, more intense, charged with a tension I couldn't ignore. Every movement I made, every slight adjustment of my dress or my hair, seemed to echo in the room. I could feel her eyes on me constantly, a gaze that wasn't casual anymore. It was assessing, searching, and terrifyingly intimate. Ryan had retreated to his room, leaving just the two of us alone. That tiny detail, that simple absence, made my stomach twist into knots. I was no longer performing for a group, no longer hiding in layers of social noise. I was exposed, fragile, a secret on display, and Evelyn knew it. Her approach was slow, deliberate, and it made my heart pound in a rhythm I could hardly contain. She moved closer, not aggressively, but with a quiet authority that seemed to fill every corner of the room. Her presence was magnetic, almost suffocating in the best and worst ways. "You've changed," she said softly, almost to herself, but loud enough that I caught every word. Her tone carried more weight than simple observation, it held curiosity, concern, and something I couldn't name. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my racing heart. I just wanted to visit," I stammered, trying to sound casual, though my voice trembled slightly. She tilted her head, a small, knowing smile playing at the corners of her lips. "No, Alex. You've changed more than a simple visit could account for. Something's different. Something deliberate." The words struck me like a shockwave. My pulse spiked, my knees weakened slightly. Deliberate. She had seen through the layers I thought were invisible. The dress, the makeup, the posture, the subtle feminine nuances I had practiced for years, she had noticed everything. I tried to laugh it off, a nervous sound that probably did little to hide my panic. "It's just a new style, I guess," I said, forcing a shrug. But she didn't look convinced. Her eyes, deep and piercing, seemed to scan me, searching for cracks in the facade. "New style, she said softly. She circled me slowly, not in a threatening way, but in a way that made every hair on my body stand on end. "It's more than style, Alex. You're someone else entirely. Her words were both terrifying and intoxicating. Someone else entirely. She wasn't wrong. This version of me, the one in the dress and heels, carefully applied makeup, and soft, flowing hair, it was alive in a way that Alex never was. And yet, the fear of being fully discovered clawed at me. I took a cautious step back, my heels clicking sharply against the floor. I don't know what you mean, I said, though the lie tasted bitter in my mouth. She paused, letting the silence stretch. Then she sat down across from me, her gaze unwavering. Alex, I don't just notice details. I notice intentions. I notice who someone wants to be, deep down. And I think, you're showing me that person right now. The words hit me like ice. She wasn't judging. She wasn't laughing. She was seeing. Really seeing. And that was more terrifying than any ridicule or rejection I could imagine. My hands fidgeted in my lap. My mind raced. Do I admit it? Do I try to hide it further? Every instinct screamed to protect my secret, yet another, louder voice urged me to surrender, to let her in, even just a little. Before I could respond, there was a knock on the front door. My heart leapt into my throat. Who could it be? Ryan should still be upstairs, Evelyn would have heard if it were someone else. I froze, my body taut with panic. Evelyn's expression didn't change. She simply said, "Go check." Her tone was calm, but I could see the small spark of amusement in her eyes. I hesitated. One step, one motion, and my secret could be exposed. But fear gave way to a reckless thrill. Slowly, I made my way to the door, each heel click echoing like a warning. I peered through the peephole and nearly jumped out of my skin. Standing there was a woman I didn't recognize, tall, confident, with an air of authority. She held a small box in her hands, a faint smile on her lips. But what froze me wasn't the delivery or the visitor, it was the certainty in her gaze. She knew something. She felt something star. And in that instant, I realized my carefully constructed world was beginning to crumble. I opened the door cautiously. "Can I help you?" My voice trembled, betraying my inner turmoil. The woman tilted her head. "I believe this belongs to your friend," she said, glancing past me toward the living room. I was asked to deliver it personally. My mind spun. The box was small but heavy, and the words "personally delivered" felt like a threat. I tried to hide it behind me, to shield the contents, to shield myself, but the subtle, knowing glances she gave left no doubt. She could sense the tension. She could sense the secret. I stepped aside, letting her enter, my mind racing with panic and excitement. Evelyn rose from her chair, moving gracefully to greet the visitor. "Ah, thank you for bringing this," she said warmly, her eyes flicking to me briefly. That glance. I couldn't tell if it was warning or encouragement. The visitor set the box down on the table, her gaze lingering on me for a fraction longer than necessary. My breath caught. Every muscle in my body tensed. The thrill of exposure, the fear of discovery, the intoxicating suspense, all collided into a heady, almost unbearable mix. As she turned to leave, she said softly, almost conspiratorially, "You're hiding something. I can see it." The words echoed in my mind long after she left. Evelyn's gaze met mine again, calm, assessing, and in that moment, I knew, nothing in this house, nothing in this world, would ever be ordinary again. My secret life, the side of me I had hidden for so long, was on the verge of being exposed. And for the first time, I didn't know if that terrified me or thrilled me. I sank back into the couch, heels still clicking softly as I moved, heart pounding, mind racing. Evelyn watched me, silent, unreadable, and I felt the fragile balance of secrecy and revelation tip ever so slightly. One wrong word, one careless glance, one misplaced gesture, and everything would change. Forever. The thrill of crossdressing had always been private, hidden in mirrors and locked doors. But tonight, it was public, intimate, dangerous. And the realization made me shiver, not with fear alone, but with a strange, exhilarating anticipation. Because I knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same. Evelyn had seen me. The visitor had seen the tension. And I was teetering on the edge of exposure, poised between fear and desire, between secrecy and revelation. And I was powerless to stop it. The visitor had gone, leaving the box on the table, but the tension didn't leave. Every second felt stretched, charged with anticipation. Evelyn's gaze remained fixed on me, calm yet piercing, as if she could see every thought behind my eyes. I sank back into the couch, heels clicking softly with each subtle shift of my weight, my body trembling with the adrenaline I could no longer control. "You've been hiding this for a long time, haven't you?" she said finally, her voice low, soft, but somehow commanding. I flinched, caught between wanting to confess and wanting to vanish into thin air. I don't know what you mean," I whispered, though even I knew the lie didn't hold. She smiled faintly, leaning closer. "I think I do. And I think I like what I see." The words hit me like lightning. A mix of fear, disbelief, and exhilaration surged through me. Evelyn wasn't condemning me. She wasn't rejecting me. She was acknowledging me. The real me. The me I had hidden behind mirrors, doors, and layers of carefully applied makeup. I felt my body relax slightly, but the tension remained, coiled like a spring ready to snap. And then, just as I began to hope, the doorbell rang again, this time with a persistent, urgent knock. My heart jumped. Who could it be now? Another visitor? Ryan back early? Or something worse? Evelyn stood, her presence commanding yet calm. "Go see," she said softly, almost teasing. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed to ignore it, to hide, to vanish. But curiosity and fear intertwined in a strange, thrilling knot. Slowly, I moved to the door, each heel click echoing through the quiet house. Peering through the peephole, my breath caught. It was Ryan, but not just Ryan. He was holding something, a small envelope, and his eyes flicked toward me with a curious intensity one had never seen before. When I opened the door, his voice was casual, but my mind raced. "Hey, Alex. Mom said to give you this." The envelope felt heavier than it should have, almost symbolic, a tangible weight of the secret I had been carrying. Evelyn's gaze followed every movement, calm, knowing, and somehow approving. I took it, my hands trembling slightly. The paper inside was crisp, the handwriting delicate. My pulse raced as I realized what it was, a note, not just from Ryan, but from Evelyn herself. The words on the page would change everything. "I see you. I accept you. And I want to help you be who you truly are." I froze, my mind spinning. The walls of my secret life, the careful control I had maintained for years, felt like they were crumbling. Evelyn wasn't just observing me anymore, she was welcoming me into a reality I had never dared to imagine. And yet, fear lingered. Fear of judgment, fear of exposure, fear of losing the delicate balance I had walked for so long. The envelope burned in my hands like a promise and a warning, a symbol of the unknown path ahead. I looked at Evelyn, then at Ryan, then back at the note. My heart pounded in my chest, my hands shaking, my mind racing. Everything I had hidden, everything I had feared, everything I had longed for, it was all right there, staring me in the face. The evening air pressed against the windows, the shadows lengthening across the room, and I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. My secret life, my double identity, my hidden desires, they were no longer mine alone. Evelyn had stepped into my world, and in doing so, had shifted the boundaries of everything I thought I knew about myself. And somewhere deep inside, a part of me shivered, not with fear, but with anticipation. Because tomorrow, I would have to decide. Would I fully embrace the life I had been hiding? Would I allow Evelyn's knowledge, her acceptance, to pull me into a world I had only dreamed of? Or would I retreat, cling to the familiar safety of secrecy, and lose this fragile, intoxicating connection forever? The questions hung in the air, unanswered, unresolved, like a heartbeat paused. And in that suspended moment, I understood, my life had changed irrevocably. The lines between secrecy and exposure, fear and thrill, desire and vulnerability, they had blurred completely. I sat back, envelope in hand, heels clicking softly as I shifted my weight, and let the silence settle around me. Evelyn's eyes met mine, warm, steady, and filled with meaning. And in that gaze, I saw both promise and challenge, both acceptance and temptation. The night stretched on, and I knew the story was far from over. Because when your deepest secrets are finally seen, the only thing you can do is step fully into the life that awaits you. The envelope trembled in my hands as I sat back on the couch, my pulse still racing like a storm. Every word, every gesture, every glance from Evelyn and Ryan earlier had shifted something deep inside me. The quiet of the living room felt almost suffocating, heavy with unspoken possibilities. I could feel it, the weight of change pressing me toward a choice I wasn't sure I was ready to make. Evelyn's eyes met mine, calm, steady, and almost impossibly knowing. There was a softness there, yes, but also a hint of expectation, a challenge that I couldn't quite place. It was as if she was silently saying, I see you. I know who you are. And now, it's your move. My hands shook as I unfolded the note, reading the words again, I see you. I accept you. And I want to help you be who you truly are. The meaning hit me like a tidal wave. Acceptance. Recognition. A bridge to the life I had always secretly dreamed of. But alongside that promise came a question I couldn't ignore, what did help really mean? Would it be gentle guidance, or would it push me into a world I wasn't ready to step into? I looked at Evelyn, her smile soft but unreadable, and felt my stomach twist. Every instinct screamed to protect myself, to retreat, to hide behind the persona I had built for years. But another, louder instinct, thrill, desire, longing, pulled me forward, daring me to step across the threshold. My gaze flicked to the envelope again. Could this note, this simple piece of paper, really change everything? Could it mark the start of a life I had never dared to live openly? My heart thundered at the possibility, but fear licked at its edges. One wrong move, one misunderstood word, and everything would collapse. Alex, Evelyn said, her voice cutting through the fog of my thoughts, soft but commanding, there's something you need to understand. She leaned slightly forward, her eyes glinting with intention. If you choose to step fully into this, it won't just be a game. It won't just be fun or thrilling. It's a commitment. One that will change everything. I nodded, unable to find words. Every emotion tangled together, fear, excitement, longing, vulnerability. The room felt smaller, the shadows longer, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for my decision. A sudden sound, footsteps from upstairs, snapped me out of my trance. Ryan, back earlier than I expected. Panic surged. My secret, my carefully constructed identity, it could all unravel in an instant. Evelyn's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. Don't worry, she said, as if reading my mind. Some things are best revealed on your terms. But know this, Alex, the door has been opened. And once it's open, it never fully closes. Her words hung in the air, heavy, charged with meaning. I felt the truth of them deep in my bones. My life had shifted. Nothing would ever be the same. Every choice I had made to hide, every layer of secrecy, had led to this moment. And now, the path forward was uncertain, thrilling, and terrifying all at once. I clutched the envelope tighter, feeling the paper crinkle under my fingers. Could I step into this life? Could I fully embrace the identity I had longed for but never dared to live openly? Or would fear make me retreat, and with it, lose the chance forever? The shadows in the room deepened as evening turned into night, the soft glow of lamps casting dramatic patterns across the walls. Evelyn remained seated across from me, calm, patient, her eyes never leaving mine. I realized then that whatever choice I made, she would be a part of it. A guide, a witness, maybe even a force pushing me toward a destiny I hadn't imagined. And yet, a small, stubborn part of me resisted. I could feel it, the fear of exposure, the thrill of secrecy, the tension of desire and vulnerability. It all coiled inside me like a spring, ready to explode at the slightest touch. I looked down at the note one last time. I see you. I accept you. And I want to help you be who you truly are. The words seemed almost alive, vibrating with possibility. But I couldn't shake the questions that raced through my mind. What will Evelyn really do? How far will this go? Will I be ready to embrace the life waiting for me, or will I falter? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang again. My heart stopped. Not Ryan. Not the visitor from earlier. Something, or someone, else. Evelyn rose from her chair, calm, her hand on my shoulder as if to anchor me. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of amusement and something deeper, something unreadable. It seems the night isn't over yet, she said softly. I froze, every muscle in my body taut with anticipation. My secret, my desires, my hidden identity, all of it, was teetering on the edge. And with one knock, one moment, the world I had carefully balanced could tip into something irreversible. I swallowed hard, my hands trembling over the envelope. The air was electric, filled with unspoken possibilities. And I realized, with a mix of fear and exhilaration, that my life had changed forever. Because whatever waited beyond that door would decide my future. And I had no idea if I was ready.